places in this world where the real terror is not what people see, but what they hear. A whisper in an empty hallway, footsteps in a place with no one there, a voice calling from deep inside the darkness. Across forests, prisons, tunnels, and abandoned buildings, countless visitors have reported hearing sounds they could never explain. Some say it is just fear playing tricks on the mind. Others believe certain places hold on to something, and sometimes that something makes itself heard. Tonight, we are counting down 7 of the most disturbing places on Earth where people claim they heard things that should not exist. And by the end of this video, you may start to wonder whether silence is sometimes more terrifying than noise. Not every story in this video has been proven. Some are legends, some are witness accounts, some come from explorers, workers, or locals who swear they heard something impossible. But what makes these places so unsettling is that the reports are often strangely similar. Whispers, breathing, crying, knocking, footsteps, and voices that seem to come from nowhere. Whether these sounds have logical explanations or something far darker behind them is up to you. Let's begin. Number 7. Hidden within the canals of Xochimilco, Mexico, there is a place that already looks like a nightmare before a single sound is heard. It is known as the Island of the Dolls. The island is covered in hanging dolls, many of them old, broken, dirty, and missing eyes or limbs. Their faces stare from the trees, swinging gently in the wind like silent watchers. The story goes back to a man named Don Julian Santana, who lived there alone. According to legend, he believed the spirit of a little girl haunted the island after she drowned nearby. To calm her spirit, he began collecting and hanging dolls all across the island. But over time, people began to report that the dolls did not just sit there in silence. Visitors claim they heard whispers between the trees. Some said they heard faint crying when no children were around. Others described the sound of movement, as if the dolls were shifting slightly in the darkness. The strangest stories are the ones where people say they heard voices calling softly from deeper inside the island, almost as if something wanted them to come closer. Of course, skeptics argue that the sounds are nothing more than wind, water, creaking branches, and the imagination reacting to a deeply disturbing environment. But even people who do not believe in ghosts admit the place feels wrong, because when hundreds of empty eyes are staring at you from every direction, even the smallest sound can feel like a warning. And maybe that is what makes the Island of the Dolls so terrifying. Not the dolls themselves, but the feeling that something among them might still be awake. Number 6. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, stands one of the most famous abandoned prisons in the world, Eastern State Penitentiary. Built in the 19th century, this prison was designed to isolate inmates completely. Prisoners spent long periods alone in cramped cells, cut off from human contact, trapped in silence. And over time, that silence became part of the prison's legend. Today, visitors and staff have reported hearing sounds that seem impossible to explain. Heavy footsteps echoing through empty cell blocks, distant voices in sealed corridors, metallic clanging, as if unseen prison doors were still being opened and shut. Some even claim they heard whispering close to their ears while standing completely alone. Because of the prison's brutal history, many believe the building has absorbed the suffering that happened inside it. Punishment, isolation, mental collapse, all of it seems to cling to the walls. There are stories from investigators and tourists who entered certain sections of the prison and suddenly felt watched. Moments later, they reported hearing footsteps behind them, only to turn and find nothing there. One of the most unsettling things about old prisons is how sound behaves. Every hallway carries echoes, Every iron bar amplifies movement. Every corner feels like someone could be standing just out of sight. That means many of these sounds could have natural explanations. But that does not stop the fear, because in a place built to contain despair, even a random noise can feel like a message from the past. And if those footsteps were real, who is still walking those halls? Number 5. If there is one forest in Europe that has earned a reputation for feeling unnatural, it is Hoia Baciu. Located near Cluj-Napoca, Romania, this forest has become famous around the world for stories of strange experiences, lost time, and sounds that seem to come from nowhere. At first glance, the forest already feels unsettling. Many of the trees are twisted into unnatural shapes, bending and curling as if the entire landscape has grown under some invisible pressure. But for those who have entered the forest, the visual strangeness is only the beginning. People have claimed to hear whispers when no one else was nearby. Others reported rustling in the brush that seemed to follow them, matching their movement step by step. Some even described hearing distant voices in parts of the forest where there should have been complete silence. What makes these reports especially disturbing is that many visitors say the atmosphere changes suddenly. One moment, everything feels normal. The next, the forest becomes too quiet. No birds, no insects, no wind. And then, a sound. A crack behind you. A breath where no one stands. A faint murmur just out of reach. Skeptics say Hoia Baciu's reputation causes people to become hyper-aware, making ordinary forest sounds feel far more sinister than they really are. And that may be true, but there is something deeply unnerving about a place where so many people, across different years and different backgrounds, describe that same feeling. The sense that the forest is not empty, not truly. And when a forest seems to listen back, every sound becomes a reason to leave. Number 4. In the state of Rajasthan, India, the ruins of Bangar Fort rise from the landscape like the remains of something that was not meant to be disturbed. Known as one of the most haunted places in India, Bangar is surrounded by legends, curses, and warnings that have only deepened its mystery over time. Local stories claim that strange things happen there after sunset. Visitors have described hearing footsteps across the ruins when the area appeared empty. Others say they heard voices murmuring through the broken walls. Some even reported the sound of bangles, crying, or movement in the night. Part of what makes Bangar so unsettling is its atmosphere. The fort is not just an abandoned structure, it is a place filled with silence, history, and the remains of lives long gone. And when wind moves through ancient stone, it can create sounds that feel disturbingly human. That is the rational explanation, but local belief often goes much further. Many people insist that the site is cursed, and stories surrounding the fort have been passed down for generations. That cultural weight makes every visit feel heavier, more tense, more charged with expectation. And expectation matters, because once you are walking through an old ruin surrounded by empty rooms and fading daylight, even the slightest sound can feel like proof that something is there with you. Whether Bangar is truly haunted or not, one thing is certain. It is the kind of place where darkness changes everything. And when night falls over ancient stone, a simple echo can sound like the past trying to speak. Number 3. Beneath the streets of Paris lies a maze of tunnels so vast, so dark, and so disorienting that it feels like an underground world of its own. The catacombs of Paris hold the remains of millions of people. Walls lined with human bones stretch through narrow passageways beneath one of the most famous cities on Earth. And for many who have entered, the most disturbing part is not what they see. It is what they hear. Explorers and urban adventurers have long reported strange sounds deep in the tunnels, footsteps echoing behind them, voices in sections where no one else should be. Unexplained knocking from somewhere beyond the walls. Some describe the terrifying sensation of hearing movement, then stopping to listen, only for the tunnel to fall completely silent again. And silence in the catacombs is different. It is not peaceful. It is heavy, oppressive, the kind of silence that makes even your own breathing sound unnatural. Because the tunnels twist and carry sound in unpredictable ways, many noises can likely be explained by acoustics, distant visitors, dripping water, or shifting air pressure. But knowing that does not make it less frightening. Because underground, in the dark, with millions of bones surrounding you, even a harmless echo can become unbearable. There are stories of people getting lost in those tunnels, hearing sounds that seem to lead them deeper instead of back out. Whether those stories are exaggerated or not, the fear they create is very real. The catacombs remind us that sometimes a place does not need ghosts to feel haunted. Sometimes all it takes is darkness, depth, and a sound you cannot trace. Number 2. Few abandoned hospitals in the world have built a reputation as chilling as Old Changi Hospital in Singapore. Hospitals are already places tied to pain, fear, and loss. But when a hospital is abandoned, emptied, and left to decay, it becomes something else entirely. A shell. And according to many who have entered Old Changi Hospital, it is not an empty one. Visitors have reported hearing crying in the corridors, soft footsteps in upper floors, distant screams, and voices coming from rooms that should contain nothing but dust and darkness. The building's history has only fueled its legend. For years, it has been connected with stories of suffering, wartime trauma, and paranormal encounters. Whether every detail is true or not, the place has become one of the most feared abandoned sites in the region. What makes hospitals especially unsettling is how familiar their sounds are. A squeaking wheel, a door shifting, a distant metallic sound, a faint voice in a long corridor. In a normal hospital, those things are expected. In an abandoned one, they become terrifying because your mind immediately asks the question you do not want answered. If the hospital is empty, who made that sound? Some who entered the building said the silence never felt complete. They described a constant sense that something was happening just beyond sight, in another room, around another corner, down another hall. That is what makes Old Changi Hospital so effective as a place of fear. It does not only look haunted, it sounds occupied, and that may be far worse. Number 1. At the base of Mount Fuji lies a forest with one of the darkest reputations in the world, Aokigahara. To many, it is known as the Sea of Trees, and while its appearance is beautiful from a distance, those who step inside often describe something deeply unsettling about it. Not noise, but the absence of it. Aokigahara is famous for an eerie stillness that many visitors say feels unnatural. The dense trees block wind, absorb sound, and create a silence so complete that even your own footsteps can start to feel intrusive. And in a place that quiet, every unexpected sound becomes unforgettable. Some visitors claim they heard soft whispers among the trees. Others describe footsteps they could not match to anyone. There are stories of distant cries, movement in the undergrowth, or the sense that someone is nearby, even when no one can be seen. Because of the forest's tragic history, the psychological weight of Aokigahara is impossible to ignore. Fear, grief, isolation, and expectation all shape the way people experience the place. Skeptics argue that the silence, the terrain, and the emotional reputation of the forest can easily distort perception, and they may be right. But there is a reason Aokigahara leaves such a powerful mark on those who visit. It is not just because it is dark. It is not just because it is quiet. It is because the forest feels like a place where the normal rules of sound have changed, where a whisper feels too close, where a footstep feels too deliberate, where a single noise can convince you that you are not alone. And maybe that is why Aokigahara remains one of the most disturbing places on Earth, because sometimes the most terrifying sound is the one you hear in a place that should be completely silent. So, those were 7 of the most disturbing places in the world where people claim they heard unexplained sounds. Maybe every whisper, every footstep, and every strange voice has a rational explanation. Wind through broken walls, echoes in the dark, the mind reacting to fear. Or maybe some places keep more of their past than they should. Maybe certain locations do not just hold memories, but presence, the kind you cannot see, only hear. Which place disturbed you the most? And do you think these sounds can be explained or not? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more dark mysteries, unexplained places, and true stories that blur the line between reality and fear, subscribe and stay close, because the next mystery might be even worse.